So what do you do when you come home and your wife comes up and says, hey, the car's running real rough and there's a light flashing on the dash? Do you panic? You don't have to freak out when you see the check engine light come on in your own car. So in order to find out what that check engine light is trying to tell you, you're going to need a code reader, and it does not need to be an expensive unit. This is the code reader scan tool that I'm going to use to find out what's wrong with this car. Now, this is a very inexpensive unit. You don't even need to know a lot about what the codes mean. You need to know how to plug it in, and you need to know how to push the buttons in order to pull the codes out of the computer. So I'm going to plug this in now. Usually the plug-in's located under the dash, below the steering column. I got outside the car, got on my knees, and I plugged the code reader into the socket under the dash. Now, if you don't know where this is in your own car, you can either look in the owner's manual or just do an internet search, and you'll quickly find out the location for your specific car. But you can see now that this scan tool or code reader has powered up. It says CANOBD2. So it's an onboard diagnostic second series scan tool. So my code reader is saying I've got an open circuit on number 1 fuel injector. Well, look here. I've got a wire that's been cut through, but look closely. How do you think that happened anyway? At first I thought the wire was chafing on something, but looking more closely, wow, something's been chewing on this wire. I think a mouse got in here during the winter. So you can see I was able to get those 2 wires spliced back together with a butt connector. It was a little bit tight. I was able to get enough wire to get the end stripped back enough. And now I'm going to go ahead and cover this with black plastic tape. Hopefully the mice won't be interested in it any longer. And of course the engine just runs great now. I'll be the first one to admit that they're not all this easy. This one was pretty simple, but sometimes, you're going to have a situation where you may not even be able to fix it yourself. But in this case, something like this is pretty basic, pretty simple repair for a beginning DIYer. So don't be afraid to do something like this. Even if you're not really familiar with working on cars, get a buddy over there to help you. What do you think this would have cost at a shop? Probably $200 to $300. So once again, this simple code reader saves the day, and in this case, it cost me nothing to fix. Oh yes, that's a much better sight. And it only took me about 2 minutes to plug that scan tool back in and push a few buttons to clear the code. I'll keep an eye on it over the next couple of weeks. So I hope that proves a point. That was a fairly small repair. I remember talking to this one guy who spent $300 because he forgot to tighten the fuel cap on his car and took it into the dealer to have the codes read, a new cap installed, and the codes cleared. I've driven about 10 miles now and the light's still out. This has got to be a great example of how you can save money if you're willing to just overcome a little fear, if you haven't worked on computer cars before, and be willing to, fork out a little money and do a little study, because this is something new. But once you learn this, you'll be amazed, particularly if you have more than one car and you want to learn how to maintain them yourselves and save a lot of money.